If you spend all day, every day in your head thinking only of your own life, you are surely bound to go crazy by either redundancy of thought, lack of new information, or a mixture of both. I'm not gonna lie, this has been me. But in all honesty, I do love to think very deeply. If I'm not working, I'll usually turn on music and just ruminate on things. Whether I'm in the car or in the shower, cooking a meal, or working out, my mind seems to have this habit of just constant self-examination, and I'm realizing that I'm just constantly always in my own head. Now you might ask, well, Bryan, what on earth are you thinking about? Well, I'm thinking about the areas in my life that I feel need improvement. I'm examining my behaviors and maybe things I've done in the past that have negatively impacted me or someone around me, and try to break that down and figure out ways where I can improve that behavior. And I've definitely developed a pretty good habit of just naturally defaulting to this way of thinking, and these thoughts turn out to just be endless and at times, admittedly, quite incessant. Now look, I've done this introspection for years and years, like we're talking decades here. Only until quite recently I realized two very critical things. Number one, all of this introspection was causing me to focus and ruminate only on my negative behaviors, kind of like how a cow chews cud. And number two, I realized that I desperately needed a break from this introspection. Really, I needed a break from my own voice, my own inner monologue. And without any kind of break from all of this internalizing, I was inevitably overthinking. Now, upon realizing these things, I asked myself a couple of simple questions. Is all of this thinking on my own life really necessary? And is it positively impacting my life over the long term? Now, let's quick zoom out from this current problem at hand and maybe consider some external contributing factors to some of this overthinking. In today's current culture and on social media, on podcasts, even here on YouTube, there is this massive self-optimization revolution. I'm even probably a contributor to some of this with a lot of the content that I discuss here on this channel. Now, a natural byproduct of some of this self-improvement typically means that we just end up doing a lot of this aforementioned introspection. And while this awakening to create better habits around health and fitness can definitely be a good thing and has undoubtedly helped me out, I believe that there needs to be a level of balance for any person to enjoy some of these good changes in their life. So all this boils down to one central question: how can we bring more symmetry to the seemingly lopsided amount of self-focus? The simple and most obvious solution would be to just get out of your own head. Quiet that inner monologue of yours. Shut up, Bryan. Shut up, dude. Now, as simple as this fix is, here's what I've been able to do to accomplish this, and I actually saw some quite immediate results. The first thing, and what I would deem as the best thing you could do, is read. A reading rainbow. Yeah, sorry, it's not like getting on a bench press and doing a bunch of freaking PRs or whatever. You see, when you're in your own head, and especially if you have that inner monologue going, what you're doing quite a bit of is talking. And inevitably, what you're doing very little of is listening. And so this simple action allows you to quiet your mind and turn your attention to something different than what you're already mentally consumed with. Now, what I've been doing is reading audiobooks, and a lot of times I'm doing this on my walks or just if I'm around the house and I'm not doing anything too complicated to where I can really focus on what I'm reading. But when I first started this, I made a pretty interesting observation about myself. As I would be reading and listening to the audiobooks, I would find my mind wanting to waver out of focus and revert back to that old habitual way of thinking where I start navel gazing, start contemplating my life and different things I have to do, whatever it might be. And so when my mind would lose focus off of the topic that I was reading, I would literally stop, rewind what I was reading, and then listen to it again and slowly train myself to maintain focus on the subject matter. Now, this was interesting for me because I had to kind of retrain my brain to really focus on something else. And basically, it was me telling my inner voice, that inner monologue, to shut up. Dude, quit trying to interrupt my reading session. Now, what also helped this effort of quieting my inner voice is I've been forcing myself to read books that are topics that are, I would consider, definitely above my intelligence. One book that I actually just finished reading is a 700-page biography on on Albert Einstein's life, written by Walter Isaacson, and the book was just incredibly fascinating. I'm sure you know who Albert Einstein is. He's a world-renowned theoretical physicist, and it goes into quite complex detail about space and time and energy and matter, and it really made me have to mentally focus on that to even get a basic grasp of what the book was talking about. But I found this to be very helpful when my inner monologue was just trying to think about how I could self-improve my self-improvement. But since I've been reading and listening to audiobooks very consistently, I've also seen a number of other benefits. So one of the first and biggest benefits is just sharper as well as longer focus on other tasks. And studies actually show that reading strengthens the parts of your brain where concentration, focus, planning, attention, and decision-making take place. Additionally, with reading and getting out of my own head, I've just found myself liking what I do more and liking myself more because I'm just simply taking a break from my own voice. I'm reducing that redundancy and kind of cyclical thinking, and again, all of that attention on my negative behaviors was really becoming detrimental for me. I'm also finding myself just being better at listening, again, because I'm slowly learning how to quiet my own mind and my own thoughts and just receive information, which is actually a skill that you need to develop. Not to say that I didn't have that skill whatsoever. Like before this, I was doing plenty of research and reading on the different topics I discuss, different current events, but not concentrated reading in long bouts as I've been doing now. I feel for once in my life, I just have normal thinking. It's not overthinking. I can think properly and evaluate life decisions with much more ease because I'm just not constantly chewing on it like a piece of freaking cud. I've honestly been so inspired by reading, and I'm so bought into it at this point. I already wrote a quote in my phone that I want to share with you. Let me grab this here. I wrote this thought and take it for what it is. One whose life is void of reading will slowly erode their ability to obtain new knowledge and instead consume and retain nonsensical and redundant information. And I realized, wow, that's what I've been doing. I think at a certain point it becomes redundant. What more within yourself can you really figure out? Why am I not putting fresh, new perspectives into my brain? Someone smacked me across the face. So reading's the big one, but there's a couple other things that you can also do that I've found personally help me get out of my own head. And one of these things is social interactions. Getting around friends or family is truly very helpful. When you're just too lost in your own thought, or you're just groveling around, you're sad and you don't want to see anyone. Well, force yourself to just go be around someone else, and you would be surprised walking away from those social interactions how refreshed and revitalized you feel. Additionally, I found that I can get out of my own head by traveling or creating new experiences for myself. Now, I'm not saying you have to spend thousands of dollars and go travel across the world, although I'm sure that would help in giving you some very fresh new perspective. But anytime you can create opportunities where you can get out of your routine, if you're constantly looking at the same walls of your house and the same cubicle at work or whatever it is, it creates that redundance of life, which creates redundance of thought. And if you're not taking breaks from that redundancy, I think you'll inevitably start overthinking, and it will become detrimental. The ultimate goal here is to create a healthy balance of internal talking and internal listening, and you can do this by consuming new information and having new experiences. I also do have a sneaking suspicion that there are two types of people in this world: people who do not read and people who do. And as maybe bold of a statement as this might sound, it's been a few weeks of me consistently reading, and it has opened my eyes and my mind in ways I never could have imagined. And also, I didn't even realize I was missing this essential component in my life. By the way, let me know in the comments some good books that you're reading, and maybe some you would recommend to me. I would love to hear it. As always, if you need really good music for your videos, definitely go check out moodsounddesign.com. Thanks again so much for watching. Happy 2024. See you on the next video, friends. Peace.